really bright in this room. There we go. Let me tell you about my day. I woke up late. I didn't want to do anything because I'm lazy. But I only have 6 more days left here, and I might as well make the most of it. So I looked around on a map, Google Maps. I was like, man, I don't really want to do anything. So what I did instead was I just went outside. I got my stuff, I walked out the door, and there's a bus station right out here. I got on the first bus that came around, and I took that bus all the way down to the route's last stop, and it's a place called Central Park. Is it East Ham? East Ham, I think that's the name of it. Anyway, I go to this park. Long ass bus ride, by the way. And I walk around this park. It was a pretty nice park, but there were a lot of it really seemed like a different country. It seemed like a foreign country. There were you go down to downtown London, around Oxford Circus or something. A lot of the people there are white, but here it was all Muslim people, all Indian people, black people, no white people at all. But as I was walking through this park, I saw this guy who was a dad. He looked like he was in his 40s. And he wasn't on the ground, he was on a tree. He was climbing a tree, and his kid was also in the tree. And he was pretty high up. And I stopped there for a moment, and this is a huge tree with pretty low branches, so you can about, if I'm standing up to here, this is where the first break in the branches happens, and it's a pretty wide break, so you can crawl up into that space and then get to the higher branches. Anyway, this guy was up in the tree, and I stood there, and I stopped, and I looked at him. I thought, how is this guy going to get down off this tree? And so I watched him as he made his way down, and it looked very sketchy, but he managed to do it. And as he got down, he looked at me, and he's like, oh, you want to give it a go? And I was like, I don't see why not, sure. And I've been doing parkour for a long time, right? I haven't done it much these days, but I still have a lot of the skills that I've obtained during my time in gymnastics gyms and all that stuff. So I was pretty quick getting up the tree. I did a Kong vault up, boom, up until that threshold, and then I climbed up real fast to the top branches there. And the guy was like, yo, and and he's like, it's pretty high up from up there, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty high, but I was probably 9 feet off the ground, 9 or 10 feet, and I didn't know how the landing would go, if I would just jump, but I did it anyway. I just jumped down, and I trusted my legs, and it worked. You thought something bad was gonna happen. No, I absorbed the impact with how I fell. Just like a standard landing, 2 foot precision landing. And yeah, I took no fall damage. That's a loud exhaust. I took no fall damage, and he was super surprised about that. And we got to talking. He was there with 2 other people, a man, a woman, and his son. And we were talking. He was Muslim. His friend was Italian, I think. It was a very diverse group of people. And we got to talking about the place we're in. He asked me if I'd been to this park before. I said no. I said, what is this place? I don't really know where I am right now. And he's like, well, you're in the hood. I was like, am I? And it started to make sense because of the demographic of people. That sounds offensive to say. I'm just gonna not worry about it, because this guy was also of the same, I guess, opinion. I don't really care about these things, okay? So he was telling me, yeah, it's very hood-like in here, and he was he was telling me about all sorts of things in the neighborhood, how like just a bit, if you walk down you'll see Little India, as they called it, and he said if you want like a big culture shock, just go down there. And I said, oh, I'll consider it. I didn't end up going, but that's beside the point. This guy was a Muslim, but we were conversing as though he was just indifferent to it. He didn't really care what I believed personally. He just had his own opinions, and he wasn't super into he wasn't like super religious. And I don't know, I just kind of assumed that everybody was like all Muslim people were very dedicated to their religion, and I guess it's a faulty assumption to make, because in every culture or every organized group of people there are outliers, but I just never interacted with somebody who considered themselves Muslim but also like wasn't super into it. Like he let people believe what they wanted to believe, and he didn't like go to a mosque or anything to pray. And it was really cool to have a conversation with him, because all the people there in this little group, they were all like of different backgrounds, and I realized that it doesn't really matter what background somebody has, as long as they're able to have like an intelligent conversation, or they have their minds open to being wrong about things, or just like setting aside their beliefs for a second and like really just having a conversation for the sake of having a conversation. I realize that I get along with almost everybody. It doesn't matter from what walk of life you come from. And I must have made a good impression on them. They were really impressed by my climbing abilities, and I said I used to do parkour. And he told me that there's a parkour group in like Stratford, an area that's close to where I'm staying, and I should check it out. And so I might check that out. It sounds really cool. But anyway, he was saying like, yeah, that's really cool that you do that. And I said, if you want to see a backflip, I could show you a backflip. And so he's like, really? Right now? Are you sure? It's like, yeah, why not? And so I threw a backflip out for him. It was a pretty good backflip too. So it was a good time. And they had to go. They were on bikes, so they're about to bike away. But he said, let me get your phone number. Like, I wanna, since you're only here for 6 more days, why don't we do something together as a group? And I can lend you one of our bikes, and we can go out on a bike ride. And I said, that sounds great. And so I might be going out on a bike ride with these guys on Saturday. So strange how you just like go somewhere. I got on the bus with no destination in mind, no expectations, but I ended up learning a lot and meeting a couple really cool people. One's name was, people just call him L. That was the guy I was talking to mainly, and there's another guy, Dave. Was it Dave? Was it Rob? I think it was Dave. Dan? I can't remember. Oh, jeez. I'm terrible. But yeah, super nice guys. Then, coming home, I took the train from East Ham. I went to another station that had the Jubilee line. I forget what station that was. Got off, got on the Jubilee line, got to Stratford to Central to Leighton. And then I got off, and then I went to Poundland because I wanted some food and I didn't want to make food because I'm lazy. And they have cheap food there, so it's still good. And I got this too. There's a little circle area where all the pigeons are, and I've made a habit of going there and just sitting and eating a Poundland wrap, having a drink, and Not alcohol, just like milk, and watching the pigeons and stuff. But this time there weren't really no pigeons. There was only two KFC workers talking with somebody else about something that happened. And I was curious. I was really curious as to what happened. So I asked them, I said, did something just happen in your KFC? And he said, yeah, kids came in and then they were throwing eggs and stuff. And I said, I just saw somebody with silly string like a minute ago, and he was leaving that way. Was that the guy? He said, yeah. And so I was like, well, that sucks. So just before I had sat down, there were people who came into the KFC and threw eggs and like sprayed silly string everywhere. And I went into KFC to see the damage, and I don't think there was a whole lot. Like just the door that led to the kitchen, I think they threw eggs at, and there was just silly string on the ground. Not a whole lot. But still, like, they're fast food workers. Come on, are you serious? Do you lack like any common sense or any goodwill? It's crazy. I don't know. Some of the people here are just raised wrong, or not raised at all, I guess. So, yeah, that was my day. Came home. I'm pretty tired. The sun is setting. But I'd say that I enjoyed my time, and I met some cool people, and I learned a lot about London. It's important to me to see all the sides to London, not just the touristy areas. I like getting a feel for the actual whole of the entirety of something rather than just like seeing the good parts. It's the same with relationships too. I think in the back of my mind, this is regarding relationships more, but if I don't know the bad things, even though it hurts to say them, for example, or communicate them to me, I still like have an itch in the back of my mind that says like, if I don't know the bad things right now, there's probably going to be bad things, and they're so bad that they can't be told to me at this moment. So I'm gonna stress about that and be anxious about it until I know more about this person. And that's probably quite unhealthy. But I don't think it is, actually, because if the other person is good at communication, and I share the negative aspects about myself and they share the negative aspects about them, we have a clear, full picture of what we're getting ourselves into. There's the woman that I live with. She was going on she had two boyfriends. Not two boyfriends, what am I talking about? But she was in sort of like a relationship with one guy and wanted to see another guy who she's more interested in. And she consulted her friend about what to do in the situation, and the friend suggested she juggle them both and don't tell either of them about each other. And I was like, that's terrible advice. That's awful. Like, I didn't say that to her face. I did just express my disapproval for it, but it's up to her what she wants to do, really. I'm not going to get involved. But I asked her, would the new guy wants to date you if he knew you were purposefully withholding that information, that you were with somebody else, from him? And it made me think of like informed consent. You need to know what you're getting yourself into. You can't hide that from somebody lest you want an unsustainable relationship. And nobody wants an unsustainable relationship. So communicate what the other person is getting themselves into. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in like putting it all out there, because this other person would probably rather save their time if you weren't telling them things that you knew would make them want to break up with you. I drank this whole thing, I am a menace. So yeah, just communication is key, and there are multiple aspects to communication, but the main thing is just let the other person know what they're getting themselves into, and maybe things will work out. And if the other person doesn't like what they're getting themselves into, they'll know that right off the bat. They'll know that right off the rip, and they'll be able to make a decision whether or not they want to stay. That way you don't waste anybody's time, and that's how it is. That's how it should be, at least. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Oh, Jesus. God damn it. Oh, I just spilled milk. That's really rough. Oh, no. Yeah, that's tough. Oh, it's not that much. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit. We have wipes. I have wipes. I'm gonna end this video now. Okay, goodbye. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.